welcome to our validation party. We're happy to have you guys here. So I guess I'll get started. The Mappers Validation Hub was founded back in May 2019 at GW with a group of faculty and students. Unfortunately, none of the original hub mappers are here today, but we're kind of like the next generation now, since most of the original team graduated this past year. So it's exciting that we're kind of transitioning into a new group. We're led by Richard Hinton. He's kind of managing the hub, and we're made possible thanks to a grant from USAID. So obviously we're partnered with YouthMappers, and our general goal is us, all being experienced student mappers, are kind of going out and ensuring that there is a high quality and standard of the data that is utilized in OpenStreetMap, since there's a bunch of youth mappers chapters all over the world and there's lots of projects that have been worked on over the years. So our job generally is to go through all of these older tasks and more recent ones and ensure that the quality and everything is mapped properly and according to instructions, so it can be utilized later on in the field. So we're the step after things are mapped. We're the people who take a look at it before it gets moved on to the next step. Another big thing we do is we make sure that we give a lot of feedback on the work that other people have been doing. So our feedback is very constructive, but basically during the validation process, we're making sure that things are kind of mapped correctly. And if we're noticing like common issues, we leave comments for people who have previously mapped, and kind of this helps them to build their skill set and improve their technique and their habits. So I already kind of mentioned what we do and who we are, but we really focus on three things when we're validating. That's spatial accuracy, tagging accuracy, and completeness. So during the process, we have a set of documentation, which you can actually find on the YouthMappers website. If you're watching the recording later, if you go to youthmappers.org, click under Projects Validation Hub, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we have some training documentation that has been, Benjamin just linked it in the chat. I might screen share in a little bit to show that off to anyone viewing the recording. But this is the guiding documentation we use for the validation process, and anyone who wants to learn how to get started with validating, this kind of gives you like a step-by-step overview for anyone regardless of their mapping level. So that was created by some former hub members, inspired by a document that was created by, I believe it was Missing Maps. So they already had some workflow built up for Java OpenStreetMap, which is the platform we use. So yeah, that's basically what we do. We are constantly working through new tasks and looking at new data created by different mappers around the world. So this is the validator training document. It goes over the general workflow and kind of gives an overview of what we do as a hub. And there is basically like a step-by-step process that we all had to go through using this document when we started working with the hub. But there's different areas like making sure you're familiar with the project instructions and running the validation tool to get started with. I'm not going to go through everything because it's a bit long, but we make sure we visually check everything. We trace any missing features. So that's a big thing that we do. If we notice that a task has a lot of missing features and it was recently mapped, then we will often leave a comment for a mapper to go back and work on it if we think it's plausible. If not, we go in and trace those features ourselves. And yeah, so this document kind of runs through everything, gives you the lowdown. And again, you can find it on youthmappers.org under the Validation Hub tab under projects, all the way out down on the bottom. We also have some other documentation for more advanced mappers. We have this quick reference guide that was recently posted, and it kind of gives some reminders and tips and tricks for people who are more familiar with validation and have validated before. And then, like I mentioned before, we use JOSM as our primary validation software. So this documentation, also found on the website, gives an overview on how to get started with JOSM and how to get it installed and familiarize yourself with that. So yeah, that's the overview of the documentation we utilize. Um, I can share the tasks that we're going to look at tonight with everyone in our chat. Oops, I keep muting myself. Has anything else to add? Again, feel free to interrupt me. Rory, I don't know if you have any questions.
No, it looks good. Maybe one question is, do you guys ever update the document, or is it pretty kind of mature and set in stone these days?
So none of us really got to work on the initial documentation because it was a project that the original hub members worked on. And I think when they were building up the document, it was being edited constantly, and that was kind of before it was posted on the YouthMappers website. Now that it's up on the website, it's kind of more set in stone, and it doesn't really get changed around that often. I think it actually says in the bottom when it was last edited. Okay, June 2020 was the last time it was updated, and I think that would be the latest version. I think that there's like a little like workflow diagram at the bottom of the document I forgot to show with everyone, but I think that was added more recently.
Definitely not set in stone. Always open to
Yeah.
adding new stuff and changing as we learn more.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.